Raw was honestly mid. Raw was mid. And I'm not going to call it trash or go over the top because it wasn't that bad. There was some solid matches, like the triple threat qualifying matches for Money in the Bank. Those were really solid. There were some matches that had substance and reasoning to them. So that's why I'm not calling it trash, because there was some purpose to this episode, but not a lot. Because a lot of the matches and segments didn't even matter. So, but anyhow, let's just get into this Raw review. So, first off, to start everything off, there was a lot of R-Truth signs, a lot of what's up chants, what's up, a lot of we want truth. We want truth. There was a lot of that. From the crowd, and I'm really happy to see it. It really shows you how upset people are about the whole deal. But overall, though, I'm telling you, for this episode, it felt like some of the crowd reactions were like piped in. Like, especially for a lot of the matches that were happening. Like, a lot of the times, like, I don't know, for some reason, it really stuck out to me this episode. Like, you'll hear the crowd going crazy, like, audio-wise, you hear everybody screaming. Then you look up at the TV, you look at the crowd, you scan the crowd, everybody's just, like, sitting still. And I'm like, where's all this audio coming from? Where's all this screaming, all this clapping coming from? Because everybody's sitting still. The crowd is dead. What do you mean? Where's all this screaming coming from, I feel like there was some piped in crowd noises tonight. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Maybe there was a lot of we want truth and they had to like compress that audio and then they put their own crowd noises over it. But like, I'm telling you, something looked off about the crowd and the audio tonight. But anyhow, the show started off with the CM Punk segment. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was pretty entertaining, but like Punk could be doing something a lot more important. Punk could be involved in a way better story, like it's whatever. Punk could cut a way better promo, with his skills, with his talents. This promo, it wasn't bad at all, but it just really didn't, I don't know. It didn't lead too much, I guess. But anyhow, Punk and Sammy were in the ring. They cut a promo. Punk started off saying that he wants to challenge John Cena for the heavyweight championship. If he wins the Money in the Bank, he will be challenging John Cena, or like he at least hints that he will be challenging John Cena. He says that he's gonna pick at John Cena's bones if he wins the Money in the Bank, saying that like John Cena's like washed up, and he's just gonna be picking at the bones if he does end up winning the Money in the Bank championship. Then Rock, and then there was a part about The Rock. CM Punk calls The Rock a bald fraud goof, which was pretty funny. It's a really good promo. I suggest you check it out. It was a pretty good promo. But anyhow, after saying all that, he throws some shots at John Cena, calls The Rock a bald goof, says that John Cena sold his soul to the final boss. The typical stuff. And then he says that if he does end up winning the Money in the Bank, he will be challenging John Cena. Something along those lines. Then Sami Zayn comes out. He tells Punk that he needs Punk to win the qualifying match, that if Seth wins the Money in the Bank briefcase, Seth is going to ruin everything. Raw is going to be unrecognizable. Seth is just going to ruin the whole company, stuff like that. And like, this confused me because I thought Seth Rollins' whole purpose was that he wanted to preserve the company, wanted to save it from like people in power, stuff like that. He wanted to rescue the company, make it a better place. Roman Reigns was ruining it. That's what Seth said. So I thought his main purpose was that he wanted to protect the company, stuff like that. But I don't know. Sami Zayn says if Seth Rollins wins, that Seth Rollins is going to win the company and the company is going to be unrecognizable. And Seth Rollins is going to change WWE in a bad way. But Sami Zayn also says that if Punk wins the Money in the Bank briefcase and goes on to challenge John Cena and wins a championship, don't be too shocked when he comes after CM Punk, when Sami Zayn challenges CM Punk. Don't be too shocked. That's what Sami Zayn says, that he will challenge CM Punk for the championship if CM Punk ends up winning. Anyhow, there was a Judgment Day versus War Raiders match, was nothing burger. It was a nothing burger. Like, for no reason, no stakes, no nothing. The Judgment Day needed help from Roxanne Perez to win the match. The match was honestly pointless. Like, the winners don't get anything. There was no stakes, there was no nothing. There was no prior feud, basically, really. There was no promos leading up to it, nothing. New Day was on commentary and it was pretty cool. New Day's always entertaining. At the end of the match though, Roxanne Perez distracted Ivar, which led to Finn Balor hitting a coup de grace to win the match. Nothing happened after that. Nothing really advanced. Then we had a really cool match between the women. It was the women's triple threat qualifying match. Stephanie Vaquer, Ivy Nile, and Liv Morgan. the winner qualifies for the Money in the Bank. The crowd was really excited for this one. I could tell there was a lot of "This is awesome" chants, and like people were going crazy. There is a lot of fan favorites in this match. Stephanie Vaquer from NXT. She's on the main roster now. She's amazing in the ring, amazing talent. You have Liv Morgan, also amazing in the ring, amazing talent. And you have Ivy Nile. Those three women, they could put on a banger of a match, honestly. Anyhow, it was pretty even, honestly, I could say, the whole match. It was pretty entertaining. There were some cool spots. Stephanie Vaquer ended up pinning Ivy Niles, hit Ivy Niles with the SVB, her finisher, to end the match. And Stephanie Vaquer qualifies for the Money in the Bank ladder match. There was a cool little Rhea Ripley and Stephanie Vaquer segment backstage. I don't know why. It was cool, but it was pointless, and it didn't lead to anything. There was not anything said. It was just Stephanie Vaquer and Rhea Ripley staring at each other. Like Stephanie Vaquer was getting interviewed by Kathy Kelly, I believe. And Rhea Ripley just walks into frame and stares at Stephanie Vaquer, and that was it. It didn't really lead to anything. I mean, maybe there's going to be like a future rivalry, or it's just like, oh, we're both in the Money in the Bank type of thing. But I don't really know. After that, though, it was the Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria promo. Lyra Valkyria came out to the ring. She was angry. She tells Becky Lynch that, oh, I hear you're talking a lot of mess backstage. You're talking trash backstage. Come out here. I have a few things to say to you. And then Lyra Valkyria basically tells Becky Lynch that, oh, now I'm angry. Now I'm taking this seriously. You've crossed the line. You've hurt me in ways that no one else has. Things of that nature. She just tells Becky Lynch that she's angry now. And I'm like, I hope you'll be angry, Because, like, Becky Lynch has verbally attacked your fiance, said a lot of things, physically attacked you. I sure hope you're angry now. Anyhow, Lyra Valkyria says that she's going to stop Becky Lynch from winning the Intercontinental Championship. She's going to stop Becky Lynch from poisoning the title. And then Lyra says that she is going to stop Becky Lynch from winning the title, and Becky Lynch will never be able to challenge for her Intercontinental Championship ever again. Becky Lynch says that she hasn't hurt Lyra yet. The thing that's going to hurt Lyra Valkyria the most is when Lyra is forced to hold up her hand after she wins the Intercontinental Championship. And that was basically that. They had a little brawl. Nothing, just like basically what we've been seeing for the past couple of weeks. But this brawl segment though was pretty bad. Like the other ones we've seen were pretty good. This one was like just mid, boring. Like it was broken up pretty quickly. Then after that, we got the most atrocious thing that I've ever seen on WWE. Maybe not the most atrocious, but one of the most atrocious things I've seen in a while. They were promoting and showing NBA highlights of a Pacers game. Like, I'm watching the finals, I'm watching the playoffs. Yeah, I do that on my spare time when I want to watch NBA. But why am I seeing basketball on my WWE wrestling show? Like, why are they showing ads and promotions for that? And then they promoted this like Tyrese Halliburton merch, like a new shirt for him, stuff like that. I'm like, dude, it was just distracting. It was out of place. Like, we didn't need that. Just taken away from the show. Then after that, it was a Sami Zayn and Jey Uso versus Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker match. The match was pretty good. It was pretty entertaining throughout. There was a lot of cool spots, honestly, but like it was pointless because you think the people who are in the feud is basically CM Punk, Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins, and Braun Breaker, and like those are the people. Like, I'm like, why did they shove Jay in there? Like, they keep shoving Jay in just like random stories for no reason. Like, he can't even cut a promo. He can't carry the stories. I'm like, just let Jay focus on one thing and maybe it'll come out good. Like, cause Jay is struggling to like cut promos and you have him like so many different stories. And I'm like, that's just unnecessary. But anyhow, Reed and Braun Breaker came out, made a pretty cool entrance. They have like this unified team entrance. It's like Bronson Reed's entrance, like that Godzilla playoff thing, into Braun Breaker's entrance, which was really cool. And the music kind of fit the group, stuff like that. Besides that, though, the match ended up in a DQ finish and a brawl, thanks to interference from Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins ended up curve stomping Jey Uso's head into the floor. Not the ring, but like the outside area. Reed was going to do this pretty cool spot jumping off the top of the rope onto Sami Zayn, who was laying on the announcer's table. Braun Breaker was holding Sami Zayn down, and Reed was going to do a tsunami from the top of the ropes onto Sami Zayn, which was pretty cool. But CM Punk ended up coming out and saving Sami Zayn and the rest of the group with a steel chair. CM Punk came out with the steel chair. Next, there was the Judgment Day backstage promo, a backstage segment. It was basically Finn Balor and Liv Morgan, they were just having back and forth. Liv Morgan saying that she doesn't trust Roxanne Perez, and then Finn Balor telling her she's delusional. It was a pointless segment. It didn't add anything. That was basically it. Kairi Sane versus Raquel Rodriguez was up next. That was definitely a match. I'll tell you that much right now. That was definitely a match. And that's probably the best thing I could say for it. Because there was so many botches. It felt random. There was no point to it. There was no lead up to it. It was just a random match they threw on there. And Raquel Rodriguez, I don't know. She just looks iffy in the ring when she wrestles. And I don't know why. I can't wrap my head around it. She just looks iffy and like uncomfortable when she wrestles. And then Kairi Sane's pretty good in the ring too. But she had a few botches here and there. It just looked messy a little bit. But it was a match. It was definitely a match. I'll tell you that much. It was a match, all right. But Liv tried to interfere. Io Sky came in to save Kairi Sane. Kairi wins with an insane elbow, which was pretty cool. She pins Raquel Rodriguez clean 1, 2, 3. Then there was a Worlds Collide promo. It was just ad after ad after ad. At this point, there was a Worlds Collide promo, and then there was a Money in the Bank card recap, which was also like 5 minutes on top of another 5 minutes for the Money in the Bank. Then there was like a 2-minute Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross backstage promo, with Karrion Kross basically telling Sami Zayn that Sami Zayn could have been a champion right now if he stopped trying to play the good guy. That Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn both know that Sami is not a good guy. Stop trying to be a good guy. Stop trying to play the good guy, and maybe you'll start winning something. That's what Karrion Kross says to Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn gets pretty annoyed. Basically tells Karrion Kross to leave him alone. Basically the same thing Karrion Kross has been doing for the past couple of weeks. And then next was probably the most atrocious segment of the night, was the Jey Uso and Gunther. No, we didn't even get to that yet. No. That's after. Next was a atrocious replay of a 2-month-old match at WrestleMania between Jey Uso and Gunther. They showed the replay of the match, not the full, highlights. And that went on for 10 minutes. They showed replays of the match. They showed promos leading up to it. They showed promos after it, trying to build this failed Jey Uso versus Gunther part 2, rivalry. Like the part 1 sucked, leading to WrestleMania. Part 2 now, leading to another match, sucks, and they're just trying to revive it. And they're just failing at that. Jey Uso can't cut a promo. Gunther's struggling to cut promos now, even though he was really good at it. Jey Uso's forgetting his lines. All he's saying is 4 letters, 1 word, yeet. It's not entertaining. It's getting repetitive at this point. After that, more promos, more ads, more not wrestling, They had the most atrocious segment I've ever seen, which was Jey Uso and Gunther. Gunther comes into Jey Uso's locker room and sits next to Jey Uso on a bench. And Gunther, the man who busted Jey Uso's brother, his twin's head wide open, cuffed Jey Uso to ring ropes, beat up his brother viciously. He sits next to Jey Uso. Jey Uso, the person he was feuding with, the person that made him tap out, He sits next to Jey Uso and proceeds to compliment Jey Uso, saying that he's a good champion, but he could be a better champion if he starts focusing on himself and stops getting involved in other people's story, in other people's matches, and other people's conflicts. And he sits there and proceeds to talk to Jey Uso for what feels like 5 minutes, honestly. And Jey Uso doesn't say anything, right? He compliments Jey Uso. He insults Jey Uso, says that he wants vengeance after Jey Uso made him tap out. Jey Uso sits there in his locker room. Jey Uso lets Gunther, the guy who busted his brother's head open, the guy who beat him for weeks after weeks after weeks upon weeks upon weeks. He lets Gunther sit next to him to lecture him. And after Gunther does all this talking, Jey Uso literally, I thought he was going to cut a promo, at least say something cool, or at least a good one-liner, or 2 lines. Cut half a promo. He can't cut a full promo. Cut half a promo. Jey Uso just proceeds to stand and says 3 letters, 1 word, tap, and that's the end of it. I'm like, bro, that was the most atrocious thing I've ever seen. I'm like, Jey Uso, bro, and then they have him shoved in so many different stories. Dude, he can't even cut a promo. Stop putting him in all these different stories. Let him focus on the Gunther thing if it's the Gunther thing. Let him focus on the Logan Paul thing if it's the Logan Paul thing. Let him focus on the John Cena and Logan Paul and Cody Rhodes thing if it's that you need them to focus on. Let him focus on Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker and the CM Punk and Sami Zayn thing if that's the story you need him to focus on. Stop putting him in different stories. He can't cut a promo for either or. And now it's just getting blatantly obvious, dude. I was excited for Jey Uso to become a champion. Now it's just getting repetitive. It's just the same. Yeet, the same thing, just yeeting, can't cut a promo, one word, 3 letters, tap, it's just getting repetitive and boring at this point, man. And this is ridiculous. Next up was the main event. Main event consisted of a qualifying match for Money in the Bank between CM Punk, AJ Styles, and El Grande Americano. This was a pretty entertaining match, I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty equal between all three men. You know, some highlights were that Punk tried to unmask El Grande Americano. He tried to take the mask off El Grande Americano to reveal that it was Omos under the mask the whole time. Like, we already know it's Omos. Like, you don't need to keep trying to take the mask off, or like WWE commentary hinting that, oh, is it Omos? Is it not? Like, we already know it's Omos, you know? Like, so he tried to unmask El Grande Americano to show the world that it was Omos the whole time, and we already know it's Omos. So like, WWE could stop with this little thing, you know? This whole little trying to unmask him thing. But anyhow, AJ Styles does this like cool little backdrop off the top rope to El Grande Americano. And then CM Punk proceeds to jump from the top rope and does a splash onto AJ Styles. Then moving on, Punk tries to GTS El Grande Americano, but AJ Styles ends up reversing it and turning it into like a double DDT kind of thing. And then there was this pretty cool reversal where CM Punk tries to roll up Chad Gable, and Chad Gable keeps rolling onto AJ Styles, and AJ Styles picks him up mid-roll and turns it into a style clash, which I thought was pretty entertaining. Americano also hit this double moonsault. I'm calling it a double moonsault because both men were on the floor, but he hit this moonsault on CM Punk and AJ Styles while CM Punk was trying to pin AJ, and it looked pretty cool. And then there was a lot of "This is awesome" chants, well-deserved, might I add, because this match was pretty good. But there was interference from Braun Breaker, Seth Rollins, and Bronson Reed. They attacked Punk. Sammy and Jay came out to save Punk. AJ Styles did like this little over-the-top rope dive onto all the men that were brawling outside. And then to end the match, El Grande Americano ended up reversing a phenomenal forearm into a flying headbutt, which was pretty cool. El Grande Americano pinned AJ Styles to advance to qualify for the Money in the Bank. And I'm like, if you don't want Punk in it, at least have AJ in it. That would have been cool. But like, really, El Grande Americano, man. Like, I'm not mad at it, but it's just, of the options we got, you know, there was better options. That's all I'm saying. There was like a little chaos after the match too. Punk and Breaker and Seth kept brawling. Seth curb stomped Punk, Sami Zayn, and Jey Uso. And then Jey Uso ate 2 tsunamis from Bronson Reed, which was pretty cool. Seth group ended up standing tall, and that was just the end of that. That was the end of the show. But some mentionable segments were, I didn't say them in order because like there was a lot of segments, so I just wanted to talk about the segments at the end, like little backstage stuff, little promo stuff like that. There was a cool little segment between Roxanne Perez and Liv Morgan backstage. It was basically of Liv Morgan telling Roxanne Perez to stay out of her way. There was a cool little Paul Heyman and AJ Styles segment backstage where Paul Heyman was trying to convince AJ Styles to give up on the Money in the Bank match, to just focus on the IC championship, focus on Dirty Dominic Mysterio, just so Seth Rollins could have like an easier match. There was a cool Sheamus and Rusev little segment. Rusev cut a video package, which was pretty cool. Rusev was talking about how Sheamus came out to help a random in Akira Tozawa, but when he needed help, when Rusev needed help, Sheamus wasn't there to help him. Sheamus let him fade away, especially when they were in the same group together, you know, that League of Nations thing or whatever. Then Sheamus responded in a backstage interview segment with Kathy Kelly. He made like a Rusev Day reference, stuff like that. He said that Rusev is just a bully, picking on guys half his size, trying to make a name for himself. Some needs to beat Manners into Rusev, and he's going to be the one to beat Manners into him. And then, yeah, that was it. That was the cool stuff that happened. That was the Raw review. All in all, I'd rate this episode of Raw a 5 out of 10. It would have been lower if there wasn't those like 2 important qualifying matches and like that CM Punk promo. I feel like those 2 matches and that one promo kind of made the show a bit better. Without those, that would have been like 0 out of 10. But I'm giving like a gracious 5 out of 10, you know? Gracious 5 out of 10. Like I'm being generous here. But anyhow, that's what Raw gave us this week, the June 2nd episode of Raw. And thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hearing me out. Like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to. Like, comment, and subscribe if you choose to. But anyhow, though, I'm outie.